what do you think is important to you and then what's actually important to you, right? So if you look at your schedule and you're like, oh, growing my business is important, and then you take an inventory of like the past month and you're like, well, I went, hung out with friends, I drank a lot, I partied, I went to the mountains, I went on vacation, and then you're like, wow, I worked on my business like 3 hours a week. Your business is not actually important. And this is not like a knock on you. This is not like you're a bad person. It's just like the reality. Just like if you're like this again, I'm always going to use
be clear. Taylor's not talking about me.
Yeah, no, this is a general thing, but this happens a lot with like health and fitness. People are like, oh, I can't afford to like join a gym for $200 a month or hire a personal trainer or hire a coach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what does your weeks look like? And they're like, well, I go out every weekend with my friends. And if you go out, it's probably like well over, 100, maybe $200 on like a bar tab of drinks and food and whatever. And if that's every weekend, I mean, that could easily be $400 a month. So it's not that you actually can't afford it. It's just that you don't value a personal trainer or a coach or a gym. Yeah. And again, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's just helping you. Yeah, it's okay. But the thing is, you need to make sure that you're on the same page with like what you're spending and what you think you're spending your money on. And if you are like, hey, I love spending time with my friends, I love new experiences, I love community, then cool. Yeah, it's worth it. But if you're like, man, I really like want to improve my health, I want to get in shape, like this is important to me, and you say, oh, I can't afford it, that's just not truth. So I think the first inventory is like, where are you spending your time? What are you spending your money on? Like what are you consuming, whether it's podcasts, TV shows, books, before you can really get into the whole scheduling conversation.
Welcome to Modern Happiness, where we believe happiness is a choice. Our goal is to share how we and our high-performing guests choose happiness, covering topics such as fitness, mindset, relationships, business, and much more in today's world. Here are your hosts, Matt Mahalik and Taylor Sleaford.
Welcome back, happiness homies, to another episode of the Modern Happiness Podcast. I'm Matt Mahalik. We got Taylor Sleaford, and guess what, guys? This is our first ever one-on-one virtual Matt and Taylor podcast. I am out in Big Fork, Montana. I almost said Montaylor. That's fun. And Taylor's back in the homestead in Denver, Colorado. So Taylor, how's it going, man?
Living the dream. I'm actually off of social media since what's today, Tuesday? Since Sunday. It's a wild ride. The amount of time you have to not just dive down rabbit holes. It's incredible.
Not only the rabbit holes, but I feel like for people like us who are on it and using it for business, it's like constantly being like, oh, I should like blow my story today, or like, oh, I'm doing something cool. Let me show people how cool my life is.
Yeah, it's actually the amount of time I feel like I've gotten back. One, because, well, so part of the reason I did it, you and I, it's kind of the nature of the beast, right? It's how we get clients. So it's definitely necessary. I'm grateful for the relationships I've built through social media. And at the same time, it's like, I can't help, I'll fully admit that I'm addicted because of how much I use it. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to take a break just knowing this is how people can get in touch with you. But I just launched my next program, started on Monday. So after every launch is a good time to do it. Congratulations. Because I'm not really marketing. I'm not, on sales. So it's like a good time to take a week off. But yeah, Sunday morning I woke up and just kind of had a lazy morning and realized like every time I got on my phone, whether it was to do something else, just out of habit, swiping to the Instagram app. And I'm like, okay, this is time to take a little break.
I love how you said swiping to the Instagram app, because you keep it on your third page, as if that stops you from going to it.
Yeah. It's definitely, there's a little awareness. I think probably I should change it like every week or every couple of weeks, and it would create more awareness. But
yeah, because I know that's what it is. Like, literally happened this morning. I think I took a screenshot of whatever, and I was going to send that, airdrop it to my computer. And instead of going to photos, I opened my phone and my thumb just taps Instagram. And then I'm reading my DMs and I'm looking at the likes that I have. And I'm like, and then I put my phone down and then I look at my computer and I'm like, wait, I picked up my phone to do something. I was like, what was it? Oh yeah. I got to send myself that photo. And that happens constantly. It's pretty wild. And just like you said, so there's 5 minutes at least, maybe more of just time that I lost and totally unintentional.
Yeah, it's funny. This is like 2 days, but which it's still happening a little bit, but definitely yesterday, it's like you just find yourself going to that app and I'm like, wow, I have no attention span. I just like need to like look at something. So it'll be cool. I've done it before. Like every day, it's like you crave that a little less. But yeah, even in the mornings, like, I mean, sometimes it'll take me 30 to 45 minutes to like create an Instagram post, find the picture, write the copy, and like having that time back. I think the big realization though is just like anything in life, making sure you know why you're doing it. You have an intention. I know, I guess it dropped this week as we're recording this. This podcast might not come out for a couple of weeks, but we talked about Sober October and we're doing Sober October. And it kind of was making me think about that. Like if you're on the Instagram, make sure you know why. For you and I, it's very much about business and it's how we get clients and make money essentially. So it's a little give and take, which is why I'm taking a break to, have balance. But same with Sober October, like I'm not looking to just give up alcohol for the rest of my life, but it'll help create a good awareness of like, oh, do I really need this? Can I create some space from this? And I think you could fill in the blank, alcohol, social media, anything with that.
Yeah, for sure. Especially social media. It's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there in a week when you come back to it. Like you're not missing anything, even though it can feel like it. Taylor, and I saw your post. You're like, you put up a post like goodbye Instagram or social media for a little while, whatever you said. And I'm like, this motherfucker didn't even tell me personally that he was doing this. Have you noticed we don't send Taylor and I used to send each other so many voice messages back and forth, especially during COVID when it was like you're stuck at home. So we would just like chit chat back and forth, almost like having a walkie-talkie, just sending voice messages, except they would be many minutes long. We really faded from that. How does that make you feel?
That's interesting. Of course, Matt brings up, it's personal. It's all about him, getting off Instagram.
When I said that, I was going to say, because it's all about me, I'm upset you didn't tell me. But yeah, you're right. It is all about me. I know. That's why we have.
Yeah, I think, I didn't really talk about this. Part of my realization with Instagram is I've had a lot of conversations lately, which I'm just actually realizing this in the past few days. So haven't even really had time to relay this to you, Matt, but I'm definitely an introvert at heart. And I think all of us, regardless of you're an introvert, extrovert, your personality, we go through seasons of life and it like ebbs and flows. And I feel like right now, and it may be like a week, it may be a month, I don't really know, but just kind of like disconnecting and like taking a step back. So personally, I kind of feel like that's where I am. So part of it was like social media, but also like my life's just kind of felt hectic the past few weeks or month. Like we did a triathlon. I was launching my next course. I did a CrossFit competition last week. So I think like, alluding to your question of like, we don't do that as much. Perhaps it could be like this phase of life of like, I'm like, oh, I kind of just need to like settle for a minute. But really the first thing that comes to mind is it's a development of the relationship. Like you and I are at a point where we don't need to talk as much. I kind of feel like, it's like early on, it's like we had so much and we were learning so much about each other, but I don't know. I think about, I've told you about her, Matt. You've actually, shout out Kelsey Hines. We'll see. I know she listens to the podcast. She lives in St. Croix. And her boyfriend, Randy, went through one of my coaching programs and went through Matt's course. But we're like best friends from college. She's like a sister I never had. And we will go sometimes a year without talking. But then when we see each other or when we talk, it's like we pick up exactly where we are. So I think it's a little bit of that.
Yeah, you got to love those relationships. I got a few of those. Yeah, dude, kind of you mentioned just the social media in there and making it feel like life is more hectic and the stressors that it puts on. And I was actually realizing that like the other night, I like grabbed my phone before bed just to like scroll. And then immediately I saw a post of like, I don't think it was like a competitor, but I was like, it just got me thinking. I'm like, could I be doing better on social media with my business? Could I be posting something different, doing things better? And I'm like, this is not what I need before bed to almost have this comparison game of getting me all anxious. And now I'm like, oh, now I'm thinking of content. I'm like, stop. I'm like, because now you're going to keep scrolling. Now you're going to see someone else you're going to start. Again, I don't know if it's completely comparison. We talked about comparison before, right? It's not that I'm saying that I should be like this person, but I'm like, oh, how can I, maybe show up better? And I'm like, this is not how I need to be winding down right now, and just really catching myself much quicker and putting the phone down. And then for, anyone else listening, it's like, it could be anything, oh, this person's so happy. This person's life is all together and mine isn't, and all this stuff. I think ending your day and starting your day with the phone is so, so toxic. And I've gotten really good at starting my day without the phone and getting up. I like make my coffee. I start journaling. The second I start journaling, I don't even think about the phone. And then I start journaling. Then I meditate, and that's when I'll be like, oh yeah, my phone. Like I gotta put on some meditation music or white noise or whatever. But it's just like the day starts so much better when I'm kind of getting introspective and just kind of being with myself, rather than all of a sudden getting all this input and all this stuff that just in the end makes me anxious. So I love that. Good for you for getting off. It's probably something I'll do maybe sometime during Sober October. Maybe. Soft talking knowledge.
When are you launching again?
So I'm doing a 3-day live experience where I'm going to teach personal trainers. And honestly, if you're listening and you have an idea for an online offer, jump on in. You'll learn a lot. But it's definitely geared towards personal trainers, teaching them how to break away from charging hourly, learning how to charge more money, to make more money per client, really understand how to change people's lives and treat their business as a business. And I know I was a personal trainer. You were, what it's like to never been taught the business stuff and how to find clients, how to grow the business, working, morning to night. And it's just never ending, feeling like you can't take a breath of air. So I'm doing a 3-day live series. I'm just kind of breaking that stuff down, really trying to get you cleared on your offer, how you can start charging more money and finding more clients. And then from there, we'll open the doors to my program, Personal Trainer Business Accelerator. Doors will open, I'm not totally sure on what that date is yet, but the live launch.
Cool. Are these virtual doors, or is this the door to your bedroom?
Hey, if you know where I live, come on in. I don't have a bedroom right now.
I was going to say, you don't, do you know where you live?
Not really. I'm floating in Montana right now with Natalie. So it's been good. But yeah, September 23rd, if you're hearing this, if this is out, I'm not even sure. September 23rd, and then that following Tuesday and that following Thursday. Those are the 3 days. Come join in. I bet you'll get a lot of benefit. Even if you're not a business person, we'll be talking about some life stuff too. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited. Actually, since we're talking about it, since we're open and honest here, I'm freaking the fuck out about it too. It's first time doing Facebook ads. I want to get like 400 or 500 people in this live launch, or in this live event. And it's something I've never done before. So I'm nervous. There's a lot of things to do, a lot of new things I've never done before. Like I said, the Facebook ads, but a whole bunch of other stuff, streaming a live event and preparing for that, potentially presenting it. Not potentially. I will be presenting it to 500 people because 500 people will attend. So that's scary, all the new things. But if I want to take my business to a place that's never gone before, I got to do things I've never done.
I'm here for it. Love that quote.
Oh, yeah. And I'm just chugging some red Gatorade over here. So if you're watching,
they're just, yeah, Gatorade. Is there just vodka in there? I was going to ask, we're doing Sober October. Are you just getting hammered every day in preparation, or?
I got real drunk on football Sunday. Real drunk.
Yeah, I got some interesting audio messages. 7 deers beep for sure.
Yeah, at least 7 hazy IPAs, at least. Running around Big Fork, eating pizza, grabbing Dairy Queen, just living the dream, just having some fun. But
is that the dream, Dairy Queen?
Dude, Reese's Dairy Queen, vanilla ice cream.
I actually have not had Dairy Queen since COVID, but I would frequent Dairy Queen a lot during COVID. lockdown.
Yeah, I did a lot of stuff during lockdown that I
Did a
wouldn't
lot
really-
of things I can't talk about.
Yeah. But no, actually it's funny because then, wake up Monday morning and I'm just like talking to Natalie and I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to chug some coffee. I'm going to get some work done. But man, just don't feel motivated. I'm not excited to work on the ads. I'm not excited to, I'm in this course learning some new stuff to help me with this live launch. And I'm just like, I'm just not pumped to do this right now. And the week before when I hadn't been drinking, I was very excited. I was waking up, I was working hard. And I'm like, Natalie's not a big drinker anyway. So I'm just like, make sure you hold me accountable to not just grabbing a beer just because I'm on this beautiful homestead here overlooking the mountains. It's so gorgeous. And it's like, I'm on vacation. Let's just have a drink. So I'm working on, I'm drinking less.
I love it.
Football Sunday, Packers,
Dude,
just
what
blew
happened?
a load all over the place, not in a good way. Aaron Rodgers did not look like he wanted to be there.
Yeah, did he get taken out of the game? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't matter what, right? When you're down 5 touchdowns with 4 minutes left. If you're up 5 touchdowns with 4 minutes left, starters don't usually finish the game. So kind of saw that coming. But yeah, he doesn't look like he want to be there. And I love someone threw up one of those, I don't know, GIF meme, just a screenshot. Did you see the Blues Clues dude come out? Like a Nickelodeon?
I mean, I've seen memes like everywhere, but I don't know why.
So they put up a video, and the dude who hosted Blues Clues, he must have been, I never thought, when you're young, everyone older looks like they're 40. But he must have been 18 or something. And he just disappeared from the show. And then what I remember hearing was that he got arrested for drugs or did some crazy stuff. And then this video comes out. He's like, remember when I just went off to college and I just left Blues Clues and went off to college and we never really talked about that. He's like, I just wanted to let you know that I'm sorry and I care about you and you look really good. And then he walks off screen. And I'm like, what the fuck? He didn't even address the fact that he was like, I still don't know. Now I'm confused. I'm like, did he go to college or was it a drug thing? And they were covering it up with college.
No way. No way was he 18. He had to be at least 30.
Well, so maybe he doesn't look 30 now. He looks younger than me all of a sudden. But
Interesting.
They didn't really address it. They just kind of skated around it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It was confusing. But anyway, they put Aaron Rodgers' face in the Blues Clues. And it was just like, yep, Aaron Rodgers is just not here. He just went off to college. So anyway, I thought that was hilarious. Not a great game, but that's all right. I've been really finding myself not caring about sports as the years go on.
Priorities definitely shift.
Yeah, doesn't serve me as much. And I feel like this is what we talk about, having a purpose, and have this purpose for my business and got lives to change. And spending a whole Sunday watching every football game, playing fantasy football, or during the baseball season and watching 162 games times 3 hours. Not that I ever really watched every single baseball game, but it's to spend that time, you know what I could accomplish in whatever that is? 500 hours in the year watching sports. It just doesn't serve me. So I'm kind of over it. It's fun once in a while, but I'd rather be out and about, hiking, experiencing the world, even working.
For sure. So I think the theme of this podcast was scheduling, time management, productivity. Do we want to dive into that?
Yeah, there were some good segues, but I wasn't ready for it. So I just kept talking.
Are you ready now? I want you to be ready.
I'm ready for anything. Anything, Taylor. Wink, wink. If you show up, if you surprise me on Montana.
Yeah, interesting. Scheduling, time management, productivity. We wanted to talk about this because it seems like everybody sucks at this. If I'm being honest, I'm just gonna be transparent. On a scale of 1 to 20, I don't know if this is an 8. I feel like I'm at least an 18 at scheduling, productivity, time management. And it kind of blows my mind. I mean, it definitely comes up with like fitness coaching, right? Can you make it to the gym? Can you be consistent? But especially as I've dove deeper into like life coaching and leadership and things like that, it's like I've coached clients who are 60 years old and they're not good at this. And it blows my mind. So I think the point of that is not to say like you should be good at this, but kind of realize some awareness that like we're never actually taught this.
Mhm.
And that you can improve, and it'll dramatically improve your life if you make an effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, man, it varies. It varies so much on how good I would say I am at this, but everything always does get done. But I think, you
You're
know,
at least a 3 out of 20.
I'm
in
at
my
least
book.
a 3 consistently all the time, at least, which means I could be anything above that. Oh yeah, this is something that you know, I've needed for myself as far as being an entrepreneur and not having that like, cool, 9 to 5, you got tasks to finish and like the workday is over. So yeah, you got to get it done. But when you're an entrepreneur, there's nobody hounding you down to get shit done. So it's like, how do you stay productive? How do you get stuff done? And you know, that's for me and some of my clients. But like you said, your clients, even who have corporate jobs, which I would love to hear you speak to that. But yeah, like you said, we've never been taught it. So it's to no one's fault that we should be good at this in the first place. And I think one of the biggest things you taught me, which maybe this is, I think this is where you would start with someone, right? Is booking yourself to book yourself. You want to tell them what that means?
Yeah, it's I mean, essentially, for one, using a calendar. If you don't use a calendar, let's start. Tomorrow's a great day to do that. And yeah, literally scheduling yourself. Typically I do it on Sundays, could be like the Friday before, but like schedule an hour on your calendar to like literally plan out your entire week. And there's obviously iterations and variations of that, but like it's amazing. I mean, I'm at my desk right now and I've got a whiteboard, which I picked up from you, Matt. I do also use a Google Calendar, but this is just a great way for me to daily kind of look at like, okay, what do I have going on every day? Like I don't put everything. I'll put all my like calls or things that don't change. And then I'll put like a top 3 to 5 bullet list of like, what do I want to do each day? Like maybe Monday it's programming, Tuesday it's like writing Instagram posts, things like that. And it's so cliche, but cliches are like cliches for a reason.
They're my favorite.
Failing to plan is planning to fail, you
Mhm.
know? So that's definitely where I start. I'm curious, Matt, why do you think people are not good at scheduling or productivity?
I think people think that they'll be fine without it. Like, I don't need, like, I got this. I know what to do. I got to get these things, you know, cool. It's this week. I got to get this stuff done. It'll all get done. That's my get. I'm trying to think of like, I always like, even when I was an engineer, it wasn't as strict with it, but again, being that 9 to 5, a little more structure, but I'd have my Post-it note, and I still do this today. Have my Post-it note, and I'll write like the 4 or 5 things I need to get done. You know, the 2 things before lunch, the 2 things after. Like, if I get that done, successful day. Anything else is a bonus. I don't know if I can answer that because I just can't imagine not.
Okay, I've got a theory. I'm going to ask you a question, Matt. So you used to primarily do photography, right?
Yeah.
You know, you've had, I don't know how many, a handful of in-person photography gigs, right? Whether that's CrossFit competitions or whatever. Did you ever miss any of those?
No.
Yeah. My theory is it's not important enough, the things people are doing.
Interesting.
And to take a step further back, I think it's not important enough because people don't have a clear vision of like what they want or why they're doing what they're doing, which leads into goal setting, right? I think if you really think about whether it's like professional or like your friends or like, I don't know, like engagements that you may miss, what are the ones you miss? You're like, I don't really feel like obligated to go, you know? Or like, oh, I don't really have to do this today. So I I imagine that it's really like it's not important enough. And going back to COVID, right? The majority of people, for the first time in their life, if they had a corporate job, they got to work from home. And I remember talking to a lot of friends who had corporate jobs, 9 to 5, and they were like, "Oh, thank God I can finally work from home." And then I talked to them 3 weeks later and they're like, "This is terrible. I hate this. This is the worst thing ever. I'm like getting less work done than ever." And it's because it's hard, right? You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to have a schedule and things like that. And whereas like when you're at the office, it's like, what else are you going to do? But if you're at home, what else are you going to do? A lot of things, anything but work. So I think that I'm not totally sold on that. If someone, wants to message me and DM me and, have a counter argument, but I really feel like that's where it starts is like, is it important enough?
Yeah, actually, I love that because you're right, because you end up doing the things that you value more. Right. And I've had clients who are like, why, like, I really want to work on your course and watch the videos and do the exercises. Like, how come I can't do it? I'm like, well, what are you doing instead? Working out, went to a concert the other night. It's like, yeah, you're clearly at this point, you value that more. There's also a very like tangible benefit. You work out, you sweat, you feel good. You go to the concert, you're enjoying yourself. Working on my course, you might not see the benefits for maybe a month later until you start making sales. That's kind of a different tangent I didn't really mean to go on, but I think what I was going to say. Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I was going to say is it comes down to like, yeah, how bad do you want it?
Yeah. And well, so here's the other thing. Here's where I was going to go. And we can talk about that in a second. But like for me, what really changed was when you were like, here's how you schedule. So, right. So now I do this all the time. The things that I can't move go in my schedule first. Calls with my clients. I mean, that's really it. Calls, this call, right? Like we are scheduled for 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Tuesday to record a podcast. It's in my calendar. I'm not missing that. Once all that stuff is in my schedule, then it's the stuff for you, the fun stuff, the stuff that fills you up. And no joke, I've gone as far as to schedule lunch because in times like I'm in now, I'll keep working and I'll miss lunch. I obviously need lunch to have more energy, to feel good, like to feel my body.
Man, if I had a nickel for every time you send me an audio message, oh, I forgot to eat today.
It's 2:30. Oh shit. Yeah. And so I'll like put that in and maybe that's not a problem for you, but working out, like all of a sudden it's 7 p.m. and I still have a few more things to get done. And I'm like, damn, I didn't work out. So it's like making sure that's in the schedule and you stick to it and you you do those things. You treat those appointments with yourself as appointments with any other person on earth. And we could talk about integrity too, but having the integrity with yourself to say, I'm going for a run at 1 p.m. We'll go for that run. And that's been a game changer for me just to make sure I'm getting my workouts in. And honestly, like hanging out with Natalie or hanging out with friends, like Friday at 4 p.m. I'm done working. I'm going to meet my friends for drinks. It's in the schedule. And that also allows me to, on Monday, when I have this whole week scheduled out, I know that I'm doing that. Or if it's the concert or whatever it is, like I know I'm going to that. So yeah, all this stuff has to get done because for me, you said the whiteboard was, important or use the whiteboard because of me. Like I love having the whiteboard and just seeing it every fucking day. I don't have to pull out my phone. I have to look at my computer. It's just there and I can erase stuff and move stuff. But now I know I don't have to worry about, I'm going off on all different places here, but I'm just like, I know if it's Monday, right? I know on Wednesday, I'm going to film a Facebook ad. So on Monday, I'm not like, what do I do today? Like, man, I know I got to get that Facebook ad done, but I also have to write the post. I also have to review my clients' exercise, like their homework, blah, 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 blah. Like, when does all this stuff get done? But now I know the Facebook ad is filming on Wednesday. I don't have to worry about it. It's out of my head. It's going to be done. Just worry about it on Wednesday when the time comes. Now I can put my focus on whatever's on the calendar today. And then that just goes right back to like seeing the concerts on Friday. Cool, I know the concert's there. So all this stuff better get done. And going back to how we started this with like the value, or is it important enough? And yeah, if I wasn't putting on the schedule, working out, it would fall off. And that just shows me that my health, apparently I'm not valuing, or I'm not seeing it as important as my work. Whether that's true or not, different conversation, right? Because we could very much argue working out, eating healthy, right? Eating lunch at the appropriate times would actually probably help me perform better in work. So it's like, I don't know, it's like this kind of loop. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's an interesting, hearing you talk, something that really came to mind is like, I think a lot of people think about like, man, I'm not productive, or I really struggle with follow through or habits, or like I create these to-do lists and then I never follow through. And it's like, I think it's a step before that, and it is about value. And, even kind of hearing you talk, it's like this idea of like decision fatigue. And it's like, are you setting yourself up for success?
Yeah. Yeah.
With like nutrition, right? I always love relating to nutrition. Actually, it might have lapsed by now, but I once had my precision nutrition certification. And John Berardi was the guy who created that. He's a PhD, and he, kind of jokingly had Berardi's first law. And it's like, if it's in the house, it will be eaten. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to eat the Twinkies, don't buy the Twinkies, right? And the whole idea with nutrition is we tend to make the worst decisions when we like are hungry and like don't plan. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have, if you get home from work and it's a long day and you don't have anything, like, well, you might not even get home. You might stop for food and get takeout on the way, right? But if you meal prep, then okay, it's there. I don't have to think about it. I'll just do it, right? And that's the same thing like you're talking about with the whiteboard, or like one thing I've implemented, take the whiteboard a step further, is I have sticky notes. And typically every night before the next day, I'll write down, okay, what are the 3 to 5 things I need to get done? And then when I wake up the next day, it's like, cool, I know what to do. But the amount of times, like this was years ago, I would wake up and just waste an hour or two because I was like, I didn't know where to start. And I would just spend all this mental energy. Like, what should I do? What do I need to do? So I think that's a big part of it, is like step one, just go ahead and pencil it in, book yourself so that when you wake up, you know exactly what you're starting on and you're not wasting any time or energy thinking about that. And then 2, I love what you brought up about value. And this is not a like personal attack, but like, I think before we really get into the scheduling conversation or productivity, it's like taking an inventory. Like, what do you think is important to you? And then what's actually important to you, right? So if you look at your schedule and you're like, oh, growing my business is important. And then you take an inventory of like the past month and you're like, well, I went, hung out with friends. I drank a lot. I partied. I went to the mountains. I went on vacation. And then you're like, wow, I worked on my business like 3 hours a week. Your business is not actually important. And this is not like a knock on you. This is not like you're a bad person. It's just like the reality. Just like if you're like this, again, I'm always going to use.
Be clear, Taylor's not talking about me.
Yeah, no, this is a general thing, but this happens a lot with like health and fitness. People are like, oh, I can't afford to like join a gym for $200 a month or hire a personal trainer or hire a coach. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what does your weeks look like? And they're like, well, I like, I go out every weekend with my friends. And if you go out, it's probably like well over, $100, maybe $200 on like a bar tab of drinks and food and whatever. And if that's every weekend, I mean, that could easily be $400 a month. So it's not that you actually can't afford it. It's just that you don't value a personal trainer or a coach or a gym. Yeah. And again, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, like it's just helping you. Yeah, it's okay. But the thing is, you need to make sure that you're on the same page with like what you're spending and what you think you're spending your money on. And if you are like, hey, I love spending time with my friends, I love new experiences, I love community, then cool. Yeah, it's worth it. But if you're like, man, I really like want to improve my health, I want to get in shape, like this is important to me, and you say, oh, I can't afford it, that's just not truth. So I think the first inventory is like, where are you spending your time? What are you spending your money on? Like, what are you consuming, whether it's podcasts, TV shows, books, before you can really get into the whole scheduling conversation.
Yeah. I love all that, though. We started with the decision fatigue. That's why Steve Jobs wore black turtleneck and jeans every day. He didn't need to think about what he was wearing.
Yeah. Nick Saban does the same thing. He eats the same meal every single day.
Yeah. You don't have to think about it. And it's science. You can only make so many decisions a day. And that's why your brain automates stuff. Your brain is making decisions constantly. Like sitting here, am I cold? Is it too windy? Should I move? Well, the Wi-Fi, like my brain is just working constantly, making decisions for me, so I don't subconsciously, so I don't have to. And so the more you can relieve that from your brain, which your brain expends the most calories out of anything in your body, just keeping your brain working and thinking. So the more decisions you can take away, the better. And you could do that by scheduling. And I love that. Waking up, we have the same thing. I have Google Calendar on my whiteboard, and then I have my Post-it notes. And there's another thing with a to-do list. I think people have wrong to-do lists. For instance, people have finished my website this week. Do you know how fucking daunting that could be? Well, what goes into a website? Well, I don't even have one yet. Okay, you got to purchase a domain. Now you got to pick who's going to host the website, Squarespace, whatever, all the options. Then you have to have photos. So what does that mean? Do you have photos? Do you have to take a photo shoot? Are you going to do it yourself? Are you going to have a friend do it? How are we going to get photos? What kind of photos do you need? Then you got to write all the copy. Okay, you're going to have an about me page. You're going to have something for your product. You're going to have all this other stuff, and you don't know how to do any of that shit. So you're going to have to YouTube it all. Like all this stuff is going to go into it. So instead of saying build website, instead maybe the task this morning is get all the photos, make a list of the photos I need for my website. Cool, we're going to get a headshot for the about me. We're going to get one of me outside pointing over here. And we're going to get one of me and Taylor skipping in the flowers because he's the love of my life, and all the things. And then I have that list of photos. And then you go out and
This is a very true scenario.
Yeah, exactly. We have these photos.
Sorry, Natalie.
She smiled.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't mean to lie on the podcast.
But yeah, you see, now we're breaking it down. Now it becomes much more manageable. Oh, what I'm going to do in this first hour of the day or 30 minutes or whatever, right? It's going to be make a list of the photos I need, right? Or maybe we're just going to do the layout. Just draw the layout. Okay, the about me page. We're going to have tabs up at the top. We're going to have my product, the name right here. We're going to have the about me page, and then we're going to have a contact button, right? And all these little things that go into it. So now it's broken down. So we know Monday, I'm just worrying about photos. Make the list, take the photos. Blah, blah, blah. Here's everything that goes into that. Right. And it's much more manageable. And now at the end of the week, we can see how we can have a complete website. Not just have a website by Friday. And so that can really cause that decision fatigue, or it's like, how do I even get started? And that's when we start procrastinating and not getting things done. So that to-do list. And then the final thing that came to mind when you were talking about this is along with that value, here's a beautiful task that I've done for myself. I have my clients do it. I actually teach this in the final module of my course. You wake up, get a nice big sheet of paper, and you are going to track every single minute of your day. And if there are any like fitness coaches out there, people into nutrition, like you track everything. The teaspoon of olive oil that you cook with, like you count that stuff, right? The beer counts. Every single minute you wake up, what'd you do? Alarm went off at 7. Rolled over, grabbed my phone, scrolled Instagram till 7:15. Bathroom, brush my teeth, and whatever from 7:30 to 8. Then 8 to 8:07, I scrolled for another 7 minutes. Then I made breakfast, like every little thing. And I did this for myself back in this was back in like January. And I did every single minute. And at the end of the day, I went through it. And I was like, first, kind of what you're talking about. What do I value? What needs to get done? Do I have fitness goals? Do I have business goals? What does it take to hit those things? If it's fitness goal, like, okay, I need to be working out once a day. And maybe I should be walking 2 walks a day as well for 30 minutes. I want to grow my business. What does it take to grow your business? I know something I teach is like direct outreach and nurturing relationships on Instagram. So that I should be doing that for an hour a day. And if you're not doing those things, right now we know what we need. So we go back to our list and we go, what did I spend all my time on? And I separate it into like lifestyle stuff, outside of work, and then work stuff, and really see how much I actually worked. And it was like the list I made, I remember it was like 3.5 hours on Instagram. There was like an hour and a half for lunch. I think it was like 30 minutes of cooking lunch, 30 minutes of eating lunch. There were 3 30-minute walks, and all this stuff, right? I'm giving a few examples. And I looked at that and I go, cool. I want to work on XYZ and I'll need another hour to do that in my day. So let's look at this. Do I need 3 30-minute walks? Maybe I can cut one of those out. Maybe 2 30-minute walks is good. Bam, I just got half an hour back. How the hell am I spending 3.5 hours on Instagram? Okay, I was posting something. I was doing some outreach, responding to DMs. But can I find 30 minutes in there that I can make sure I track and stay accountable for, put it in my schedule? Hey, you're allowed to scroll, but only 10 minutes, set a timer, right? So now I just found an hour back. And then the final thing was, like what you said, meal prepping. There was 30 minutes of cooking. It's like, if I spend 30 minutes cooking every single day, that's 2.5 hours, in the 5-day week. So instead I can spend an hour meal prepping. Now I'm just microwaving food and eating it. So I just got another half hour back. So I just got an hour and a half of my day just by looking at it. And now I go, wow, I could put that hour and a half back into my business or whatever it is you want to do. How do you feel about that? Can you breathe?
This is great. Sorry, I'm trying to take it all in. What did you say before that? Oh, okay. I want to touch, really, you're bringing it all together. If I bring the two things that you said, but I loved what you said about people bite off way more than they can chew. Right. So you talked about the website idea, and I have so many clients and friends, and just everybody does this. And sometimes I do this, and I used to do this, right? But it's like, you don't have to create the website in a day. It's like step one literally could be, what's my job this week? Find a platform to host my website. Is it Wix? Is it Squarespace? Is it WordPress? Like, okay, cool. I'm just going to research those. Bam. Next week, I've got another thing, and we could come up with, it's like, oh, you need to start working out. Cool. This week, Google gyms in the area. Okay. You Google gyms. Cool. That's all you got to do this week. Next week, let's send emails to the top prospects. Then week 3, let's go visit some of those gyms based on who responded. And then you know what I mean? And it's like, this could be 10-year goals. This could be 5-year goals. This could be whatever. And it's so many people, I bet. And so where I said, we're like putting those two together. If we were to track your time, I bet that I would put money on it. I'm not a betting person, but I would put money on it that people spend 30 minutes to an hour at least just trying to talk themselves into like doing whatever the thing is. Yeah. So if it's like, if they put on their, sticky note, create a website today, they probably spend 2 or 3 hours trying to be like, oh, I need to do that, but I don't want to. Oh, I need to do that, but I don't want to. Whereas if it was just like, hey, what platform should I host? Should host my website? It'd be super simple. And I've had so many clients who just like, it's just paralysis by analysis. It seems so daunting. They never actually do it. So break it down. And this is what I do in my course, right? It could be a 10-year goal. Well, cool. You want to make $1 million in 10 years? Well, okay. In 5 years, let's make $500,000. And in 3 years, let's make $250,000. And in 1 year, let's make $100,000. And it's like, oh, what do you make right now? $80,000. Cool. Like, okay, what do we need to do in another year to make 20 extra grand, And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can actually take a full breath. This isn't like that crazy. But for some reason, we get caught up in the end goal. So it's like kind of just staying in your lane and like focusing on, again, it just seems so cliche, but like focus on the process.
Yeah. This literally just happened to me. I'm building a worksheet for this live launch. And so people can go through it. It's got like, intro, what this thing is, a little bit about me, a few testimonials in there, and then fill it out. Something for you to fill out as you watch the live launch. You can fill out the things that I teach. And I'm looking at this, and my coach gives me an example, and I'm like, this is so much. I have to pull testimonials. I got to get my best testimonials in here. I got to write an about me. Like, oh my God, how do I condense my story into a little page? Talk about my bike trip forever.
You rode your bike across the country?
That's right, dude. And I'm like, how do I condense? This is so much to do. And I'm like, Matt, one thing at a time. What's the first thing? Title, bam, title, done. That took 5 minutes. All right, what's next? I'm going to give him an intro. What is this thing? What is this workbook? Let's talk about what this workbook is and how it's going to help during this live launch. Cool. That took 30 minutes. All right, now what's next? Be about me. Okay, deep breath. How do I condense this? Cool, that took another 30 minutes. See, now all of a sudden I'm halfway done. Rather than sitting there and freaking out about how long this is going to take, let's just start with the first step and let's just go for it.
Dude, I love that example. The most relevant one that I have is I coach at CrossFit Omnia and I program the workouts. And the way that I send workouts to all the coaches is through a Google Doc, right? So if it is, today's Tuesday. So this was the week of September 13th. So that is, the Google Doc says, Omnia program 9/13/21. And for next week, I need to program, and next Monday is going to be the 20th. So sometimes literally the first thing I'll do is I will make a copy of that Google Doc and then I'll change the dates to 9/20. And that'll literally be my entire step. Because what is the biggest barrier? It's like, oh man, I got to create the workouts and then I got to change the strength and then I got to change the conditioning and then I got to change the coach's notes and like all these things. And it's like, okay, step one, I'm just going to create the document. So whenever I'm ready, it's already created.
Nice. Yeah.
And it literally takes me like 5 seconds to do that. But sometimes that'll be a task for the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll just set me up for success because that's like one less thing. Because sometimes it's just literally so daunting thinking about all the things. And it's like you said, title. Like if you're listening to this, you may think like we're just being like, we're making silly excuses, but this is real. Mm-hmm. It's literally just create the document and create the title and then come back to it in a week or a couple of days or whatever it is. But like that can really like help you so much from like the paralysis by analysis standpoint.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so let's say you do all the right things. You made a copy of that document. Now it's time to write the workouts for the week, and it was on your calendar. It's whatever. It's Sunday or whenever you write workouts, right? It's Monday morning. You're gonna write the workouts, and the document's created, and you get in there, and you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. What do you do? Do you get started? Do you not do it?
Like most things, it depends. It depends on the rest of my week. Sometimes if I'm just like, this is the last thing I want to do, I just won't do it. Like, that's okay. It's okay to give yourself permission to like take a break or push things off. Like that happens sometimes. And then the flip side of that, so it's typically one of two scenarios. The other is like, cool, just write one workout. Just, write one workout. And then if you write one workout, you might write two. And then you write two, you might write three, right? Like, again, if you guys, maybe you don't have a fitness background, but like my process is like I told you already, it's like create the Google Doc. And then when it comes to a strength cycles are 6 weeks at a time. And before that strength cycle, I already write all the progressions for the strength work. So at CrossFit, we have a strength piece, and then we have a workout, which is conditioning. So there's like 2 pieces every day. So the strength is already programmed. It's already the sets and reps. So sometimes it might be like, okay, I created the document. Now I'm just going to go change all the strength. I'm really not in the mindset to like write the conditioning workouts. That takes the most time. Well, cool. That's just like one thing I took away, right? We also at Omnia do a question of the day, just like for members to get to know themselves. Least favorite part of my job, coming up with something creative, but maybe it's just coming up with 6 questions for that week. And I'll do that, right? Because again, that's like one piece that then I don't have to worry about the next day. But that's one example, right? We're talking about workouts, but it's like, if you need to write a bio, it's like, okay, maybe it's just bullet point. Like, I went to school, like for me personally, I'll give you my rundown. It's like, okay, bio, man, I don't really feel like writing 5 paragraphs. Okay. Well, I went to the College of Charleston. I grew up in Florida. I now live in Denver, Colorado. I've been a strength coach at 4 different colleges. I've been a CrossFit coach. I've done online programming. Maybe it's literally, okay, cool. I'm just going to create an outline and then I'll come back tomorrow and I'll, get in more detail on those things. So it's like, if I were to summarize it, something is better than nothing.
Yeah. There was one time where I texted you and I was like, dude, I got to do this shit. I got to do this work. I really don't want to do it. And you, being a great coach, goes, what would you tell your client? And I'm like, I would tell them that Work on it for 5 minutes. If you do 5 minutes, then you can stop. And you're like, okay, then do that. Set the timer. You're like, I'll set it for you and I'll text you when it's up. Set the timer, work for 5 minutes, and two things are going to happen. One, and I feel like this first one never happens. One, you're like, cool, 5 minutes. I said that's all I was going to do. And now that's better than doing nothing. You've made some progress. Or the second thing, which is what always happens to me, is like, all right, now I'm in the zone. I'm going to keep working for like an hour. And it's that momentum. It's just that getting started that's so hard. And it's not to trick yourself. Like, seriously, if it's just 5 minutes, then just stop after 5 minutes. I always go back to that. The other thing I'll do, I haven't had to do this in a while, but I remember this is a little trick. I remember back in my college days when I was studying engineering, finals week, or even not finals week, just trying to get some homework done. And like, obviously don't want to do homework. I feel like it was always cold in college. I don't know. I'd go to the library in my sweats, throw my hoodie up, put my headphones on, and I'd have like a coffee. And then I'd just start hammering work. And like the hoodie gave me like tunnel vision, and I would just be like in this work zone. And I remember now being an entrepreneur, when I thought of this like 2 years ago, I was like, that was such like, it's almost like how do you say it? Pavlovian? Pavlov, where he like, yeah, Pavlov. Almost. We'll get it one day. Where if you don't know, he trains a dog. He rings the bell, gives him a treat. Rings the bell, gives him a treat. Rings the bell, give him a treat. Every time he rings the bell, the dog starts salivating. And because they expect the treat. So now when he rings the bell, but doesn't give him a treat, the dogs are salivating because they expect it. They correlate the bell with the treat. So for me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this to myself now. It's going to be when I don't feel like working, hoodie on, hood up, headphones in, and I'll get a coffee if it's the morning, or if it's the evening, I'll like literally just do like hot water, honey and lemon, but just kind of this hot drink. And I just feel like, all right, kind of cozied up, like it's work time. And especially important, pick a playlist. I do Focus and Flow or any like,
is that like teenage angst or?
No, it's just like, kind of like hip hop with no words. It's just like very flowy, like boo doo, boo doo, boo doo. That was terrible. It's way better than that, guys. That was just freestyling up here. Very important though, when I pick that playlist, I don't listen to it at any other time. Like I can't do that and go for a walk. I can't do that and work out. I can't like do that and go to a party, whatever. Like that's my song for being in that state. Now, so I've created this environment that I work in, and now it just puts me in that mental state, that working environment, and I'm just so much more ready to work. And that has worked for me. And it might be something different for you, but like that's what I know. Like hood on, headphones in, that playlist, and a nice hot drink. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I love that. I do the same thing. Sometimes I'll wake up. So I have a roommate, MK, shout out MK. And sometimes I'll wake up and I come out of my room and I've got like shoes on. I got my khakis on, like just a nice shirt. And she's like, where are you going? I was like, oh, I'm just working today. I'm just like putting in work.
I need to find a picture of this.
It's, it's funny, but it really is. It's like, by like just doing that, sometimes either changing your environment or like having these cues. I have the same thing. Before we got on the call, I don't know, actually, maybe it's in the podcast, but I have a candle that crackles. It's got like wood pieces that you light. And yeah, for me, I still use Pandora, guys. Don't hate on it because I still think the algorithm is better than Spotify for like radio station, but Marshmallow radio station is like my work playlist.
Wow. Down to that.
Yeah, and I'm not even like an EDM guy, but it just works. And
you pay for Pandora?
No, so I got the ads. Sometimes it's nice though. Like, it still thinks I live in Orlando, so like I know about like O'Reilly Auto Parts, whatever kind of deals they got going on. I can text my parents.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
But yeah, the point is, sometimes those cues can really go a long way. It's interesting, Matt. I was going to ask you, but I'm just going to share, like, which you can answer. I was going to ask you, what's the hardest part, right? Like you've done this for a while, you've improved at it. And I was thinking about what is the hardest part for me about scheduling still? And I've realized that the things that I struggle with the most, I don't enjoy, and they no longer serve me. And there's some things I've quit recently that I'm not quite ready to talk about on the podcast. They're not quite finalized, not quite public knowledge. And I realized they were just the time and energy suck. And it's because I've moved on from that. And, so the first step I would say is like the beginning of the podcast, like book yourself to book yourself, actually use a schedule, put everything on the calendar, use a whiteboard, create to-do list, like set yourself up for success, all of those things. And then if you still feel like you're struggling following through, maybe it's not what you actually want. Maybe it's no longer serving you. Maybe it's not the job or the career or the goal or the passion that you thought it was. Because for me, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I kind of joked, and I'm also serious. Like, I'm really good at scheduling. Like, I don't ever miss things. I don't ever things don't ever slide that are important. But the things that I'm like, man, I really don't want to do that today. At least as of late, are like things I should probably give up. And I've had a big realization around that lately.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, 100%. Last year when COVID happened, I realized, personal training wasn't something I wanted to do. I love the business side of things. I want to teach that. Even though it was like the immediate money, but it was like, this is more than a time suck. It's an energy suck. And that's the worst part. Like you said, it's not just like that time when I'm doing it. It's that decision to like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to prepare for this, getting yourself hyped to do it. It's like, that is just crushing you for the rest of the day or even the week. So, giving up or, stepping down from my role as a coach at my gym and, ending my, coaching clients, personal training and, so I could go all in on, this business coaching and the program I wanted to develop. And even now, right, I'm hiring, I've talked about this. I've hired a virtual assistant, because I used to love some of the stuff. I used to love editing my own videos and it used to be fun. And I had the capacity for it. Now I'm like, I'm better served doing things like this, podcasting, speaking, also write my own content, but it's like, I have my other podcasts for my business coaching, for personal trainers, Personal Trainer Business Accelerator podcast. And I record those on my phone and I send them right to my VA, and she'll pick the clip for Instagram. She'll upload it to Podbean, the server. She'll write the show notes. She'll do all this stuff. I'm like, I would hate, that's what would suck my time. But like, oh no, the podcast has to be released on Friday. So like, I have to do it. And it's just like, oh, another thing on the schedule. So now I've just hired it out. And I feel like I don't even I read 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss. I remember reading that when I was an engineer and I was like, this doesn't make sense for me. I'm like this would make sense for someone a few levels above me. I'm like, I'm the lowest on the totem pole. Like, what am I going to hire some, Filipino to like do shit for me? And, but I think even if you're not an entrepreneur, like, I think he talks about that. Like, you could get stuff off your plate by maybe giving it to your assistant, trusting them, or hiring someone virtually to do it. If it's like really such an energy or time suck, it's possible. Maybe it's giving it up altogether. And I think that's something you did. That's what I did with my personal training, but stuff that's still required of my business, I've just now hired out. And it's so worth that time to pay my VA, my virtual assistant, to do that for me so that I can have my time energy back to do the things that really move the business forward, things that only I can do. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. And I was kind of wondering, I'm like, what am I doing now that I shouldn't be doing, or that's draining my energy? So I'm gonna have to reflect on that a bit more for my own sanity.
Pull out the sticky note system again.
All about the sticky notes. Dude, I almost brought both of them, but I brought my whiteboard here. I would be useless without it. Like, I really would be. If I couldn't get the plan for the week out and see it visually, I'm just like, I just can't function, or it just takes me too long to make the decision. And I can feel that. I can feel that energy being taken from me as I'm like, what do I do this morning? Like, okay, you know, the Facebook ads are going to run on Thursday. So it's like, those have to get done. It's like, cool, that's priority. Now I know that. I wrote on Thursday, like I saw that that's going to happen. So I see that, cool, we have to get that done. And if the Facebook ads are going out, that means the opt-in page better be working. And if the opt-in page is working and people are signing up for the live series, then I made a directory page that has to be done. And the workbook I was just talking about, you know, that doesn't have to be done, but I would like it to be done so people can see it and have that. And so it's like, now that I can see that though, what's priority? None of this matters if the Facebook ads don't get out. So let's make sure we're doing that. And then breaking it down. What has to happen for that to get done?
I think it's interesting. What came to mind, not to go down like an entire another rabbit hole, but like keep it simple when you said that, is also boundaries. Like,
oh, I wanted to ask you about boundaries. Definitely another rabbit.
It's okay to say no. And like, you know, I touched on at the beginning of the podcast, like I'm definitely an introvert, and like sometimes I have friends reach out and they're like, oh, let's catch up. And I don't know, maybe use the term friends loosely. Like there's obviously levels, right? There's like super close circle, people who I am friends with, people who I know, you know, that sort of thing. And it's just like, if I have a busy week, if I have a lot going on, like I don't have to say yes to like dinner or drinks or like whatever, you know, and I don't have to give a reason why I can't make it. Like I don't have to
excuse either.
I don't have to make up some lie or whatever. And I think that's another big part of this is potentially for some people listening, like why maybe you struggle with this is you're like, oh, well, it's, you know, it's actually interesting. Like I feel like Aaron won't mind me mentioning this, but like on our triathlon recap episode, right? We talked about the triathlon and like whatever. And, you know, she had talked about like kind of this triathlon, like meeting new friends and like kind of growing and like people who were like-minded. Helped her shift out of like, you know what, my college friends were like great friends. And it's not to say that I'm not going to be friends with them anymore, but like we now have different priorities. Like they want to continue to like party on the weekends. And like, for me, I want to get after my goals. I want to like wake up at 6 a.m. and work out and like things like that. And it's like, oh, I don't have to like just go drink with them. Cause like really, if that's the only time they want to hang out, then like maybe we're not as close as I thought. And again, that's not like a good or bad thing. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a bad thing, but like, it's just, hey, that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I've realized like for my schedule is like, I mean, I remember when I first moved back to Colorado from Orlando, I had two roommates that were like, I think I was 28 turning 29 and my roommates were 23. So like a little bit of an age gap, and they were still very much like, at least one of them, the one I was closer with, was like, I want to black out like at least once a weekend. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'm past that.
That's
and
funny. I remember those days. The urge to black out is so fucking funny.
Dude, that's next level. Like it's getting trash is one thing, but you know, and he would call. And so like when I kind of moved in with these guys, one of them was from like went to school in Denver, and I was like, cool, I want to meet some people. And I went out with my other roommate who said he wanted to black out like a couple of times. And like some of the friends that we went out with or coworkers, I was like, these just aren't my people. And it's nothing against them. And they, you know, I would imagine they'd say the same about me, which is fine. And that's cool. But, you know, we're out till 2 a.m. and I'm like, I want to go work out the next day. Like I enjoy my days. And my roommate would like sleep till 2 p.m. and then just watch football all fall. And I'm like, again, that's cool, but like, that's not the life I want to live. And you know, I was growing my business. I had recently, you know, quit my desk job in Florida. And I remember he started referring to me as grandpa because it'd be like Friday night and I'm just like working.
Yeah.
And because I made that decision, like, cool, I would rather work on my business and grow that and make more money than go out with people who I don't really like hanging out with. And the funny thing was, he would talk about some of his coworkers and some of his friends and be like, he would talk shit about them if I'm being completely transparent. And I'd be like, well, okay, like you don't want to hang out with those people. And then it'd be the next weekend and those people are at our house pre-gaming before they go out. And he was just so desperate to be around people that he would talk shit about him the week before and then hang out with them. And I'm like, that's not the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
You know, and I made those sacrifices. And then now, you know, two plus years later, I have people in my life who I'm like super close with, and we're very like-minded and, you know, that sort of thing. So really, I tell you that story just to say that, like, if there's people in your life who don't understand, like, hey, like if anybody, I mean, I'm so grateful I don't have to work a 9 to 5, but if I did, and God forbid I had to work out at 6 a.m., I would work out at 6 a.m. Because like you wouldn't want to be around me if I couldn't work out. Like that's a part of my life. I love it. I'm passionate about it. And that's like Aaron, like, and multiple of my friends. And if somebody was like, why are you doing that? Why would you get up early? Like, they don't get me. They don't understand. And it's like, I shouldn't have to explain to them why I want to do those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Again, this is like, we go down a whole rabbit hole of this, but last thing I want to say on that is I can't get rid of this thought that Dean Graziosi said in a mastermind I was in. He's business partners with Tony Robbins. He's like, you know, Tony Robbins life coach. They're really good at this stuff. And man, his little like monologue he gave, but he just said, I have a zero obligation meter now. And he's like, I have a family, you know, I have a wife that I love. She's my best friend. I have kids who are playing sports. He's like, this is what I want in my life, to go watch them play sports, to spend weekends with my wife and go do things with her. And she's like, and he goes, you know, if I get an invitation to my second cousin's wedding or whatever that I haven't spoken to in 2 years, I'm not fucking going. Would I rather buy a gift? I mean, I guess you still buy a gift when you're invited, but would I rather, you know, take the flight, buy the hotel room, spend a whole weekend with, you know, people that don't really care about me? Or I turn to my wife and like, hey, you know, that weekend you want to go rent a house wherever and just me and you get away. That's where I want to spend my time. So I have no obligation to be, you know, at that person's wedding. And it's the same thing you've been saying. There's no obligation to explain yourself or to say no. I think I've seen this GIF meme, whatever the fuck meme, going around, or maybe it's just a quote, but it's like, did you say it? It's like, don't confuse my free time or my free time with whatever free time. How do you say it? Don't confuse my personal time with free time.
My free time with my it's like
availability.
My availability. Yeah.
And I love that. And I think actually maybe even Deuce might have put that up. But I love that because, yeah, especially someone like you know, more introverted, you like to kind of recharge on your own. For me, I might want to like, oh, I have free time. Let's go hang out with some people. That's what recharges me. But I also need my time to myself too, and just to relax. And it's like, oh no, I'm not doing anything. And this person asked me to go to dinner. It's like, I've been so busy. I just want to stay home and do nothing for once. Then do that. You don't owe this person anything. So
yeah, that was
obligation meter. I love it.
Yeah, that was early on with the podcast. Like for a while, we recorded every Sunday, and I think there was one Sunday where you're like, "Can we do 9 a.m.?" And I was like, I think I said no, and you're like, "What do you have going on?" I'm like, I don't have anything going on, but like, just because I'm free doesn't mean I'm like, Sunday was like my only day I wasn't working. So I'm like, I want to keep the mornings to myself.
Yeah.
And like, for me, that was a big step. It was hard for me to say that, but I knew you would understand. Like, oh, okay, cool. Let's do 11, you know?
I've been resenting you quietly for months now.
It hasn't been quiet.
I'm only kidding. No, I love that. I love when you did that. And I was like, I honestly felt bad. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, oh, sorry, I asked. I'm like, shit, what am I doing with my life? Hold my boundaries.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think we covered a lot. Is there any final words on like scheduling? I think we covered mostly everything. And
I don't know. Is Natalie still listening? Does she have any words of wisdom?
She went inside. We have this cute little deck with rocking chairs. But no, dude, I see her, you know, she's got a 9-to-5 job, and I see her every morning. She's got her Post-it, big, you know, long Post-it note, and she writes, I didn't really look at, but it's like, you know, 9:30, 10:30. And then she has like one word for everything. I'm like, what is any of this? It's like Jobin. I'm like, who the fuck is Jobin? And then like, you know,
the guy she's been seeing.
Yeah. And then it's like 1 to 1:30 Slack. I'm like, well, as long as you know what that means. But, you know, she's got it down. on her thing. And I'm like, that's great. And then when it's 6 p.m., she's done with work and she's done. So she's good with her boundaries with work. So I think, it's important.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. If you got any questions, obviously send us a message. And also realize like there's a rule and there's time to break the rules. So I think this is something I teach in my course. I know I teach in the Mindset Mastermind calls in your course, Matt. I teach a very specific framework. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm like, hey, cool. Now that you know the framework, figure out what's works best for you. So I hope that our goal is you can take what works for you guys from this podcast.
Yeah, I love that you finished that. And it's the same thing. Right? We value so much that work-life integration, right? But also like right now for me, I'm shooting for the moon with my next launch, and I'm trying stuff I've never done. So yeah, these next 3 weeks, I'm working a lot more than, I would like to. But this is so that I can get to a place so that I can have more free time in the future. And this is kind of an instance where I'd break the rules. It's like, I went for a run right before this podcast. And I really didn't want to. I posted about it. But I knew that, getting a workout, I'd actually start to feel a little bit better. But Sundays, I'm just like, I'm just not working out today. And tell you what, that wouldn't work for you. You wouldn't function. But for me, I'm like, I just can't. I need to get some shit done. I know it's temporary. I'll get back on my workout grind like later, but right now stuff's got to get done. So yeah, there's a time when it's important. There's time to break the rules and see what works for you. It's like the morning routines, right? Everyone wants to know what's your morning routine. It's like, it won't work for you. I guarantee it. You got to find what works for you. So try stuff, but like, you got to try it. You got to try it and figure out the system that's best for you. It might not be Google Calendar, Post-its, and a whiteboard. Maybe you just need one of those things, but that's what I've found over a few years.
But you don't know until you try. So try it. And then if it's not for you, cool. Bingo, bango, bongo.
Good point. Good point. You'll learn something. You'll take away something, get rid of something, maybe add something else. Yeah. Awesome. Taylor, we covered it all, I believe. Happiness homies. If you love this podcast, if you love Taylor and I, because we love you, and if you haven't done it already, please take like 90 seconds, get on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, give us a review. It'll help us get the word out to more people. And that's it. That's all we ask of you. And until next time.
I got one more thing. One more thing.
Oh, snap.
Oh, just in time. By the way, guys, we already posted about it, but we're doing Sober October. And the reason is, if you listen to our podcast, our triathlon episode, it's like, we're always pushing ourselves. And we did a triathlon and it's like, cool, what's next? And this is just an opportunity more on the mental side, right? Of like, Matt and I are not alcoholics. We're not like addicted to this. And like alcohol is a regular part of our life. And it's just a good opportunity to take a step back and see, what is life like? And what is it like to be in social situations? And also just like create some awareness. We're going to give money. You guys can donate. We'll have more details about that to help with mental health awareness. Like it'll help physically, mentally, emotionally, like abstaining from alcohol. It's as much fun as it can be. It's also literally like a poison to the body. So neither one of us are planning at this moment in time on giving up alcohol for the rest of our life, but this is just a good opportunity. And really we want to do it with you. So if you've thought about this, or you're like, maybe this is something I could try, you can do it with people. We're going to create community. We're going to have more things going on in October. So you're not alone. So if you guys are interested, we have the link will be in the show notes, and you can sign up with us just with email. We'll send out some newsletter. We'll have some extra podcasts, and we would love for you guys to join us with this challenge because it's gonna be a challenge for us. So let's do it together.
Yeah. So this might come out before October, so you have time. But whenever this comes out, like if you're not hearing this till October, join us no matter what. If we're 2 days in, a week in, join us anyway. And yeah, like Taylor said, we got a Facebook group. We want to start interacting with you guys because on the podcast, we don't know who's listening unless you tell us. So we would love to, just start creating that connection community inside the Facebook group. And it's all starting with Sober October. And yeah, just a great chance to get to know some like-minded people, raise money for a good cause, and to grow your own community. So we're definitely excited about that. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the challenge. And if you want to learn more, we do have an episode on that. But yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, Taylor, click that link in the bio, guys. Give us a review. Share this. Share it with your friends. If you want other people to join you in Sober October, share it with them. We would love that. And until next time, peace out. Nice.